every single way that they justified slavery has a direct parallel to the ways that society justifies abortion today. And it could be that, that they would argue that, black people are genetically different than white people or other racial people. And so they don't feel pain. They don't feel pain the same way. And so it's okay to treat them this way. Okay, so Hannah, today it's you and me on the Pro-Life Pod. And we get to run free. We get to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
I'm so excited. Our second podcast.
Yeah. Well, so you had a big day yesterday.
Yes, it was my birthday, and I had so much fun. My boyfriend came over with the family. We had cake and desserts and all that kind of stuff, and that was so fun. And did gifts. And my mom is actually like the perfect gift giver because she listened to everything I wanted. Like, oh my gosh. Just that I just said in passing and got all that. And then
what does she do? Like take notes in her phone or something?
Probably so.
She's like, you're talking about something that you saw at Caroline and Company, and she's like, I'm gonna write that down.
Same thing she does for Christmas, because for Christmas I never know what I want. But she got me some great stuff, and then we went to Chris last night. I hadn't been there in years, so I was like,
it
actually
looked really good.
So good. It was so good. I was kind of nervous because you never know, like especially with new places or newer places that hadn't been there in so long, if the food was gonna be good. But it was. Well,
you are very picky. You have very discerning taste when it comes to your food.
Yes, actually. So Cedric was just telling me he thinks it's okay to have tomatoes in gumbo. Actually, I want to know your opinion on that.
I am not. Well, first of all, nobody should take my opinion about gumbo at all, because I do not make a gumbo from scratch. I've tried, and it's not good. So I just use the jar. But you know what I really do like in New Orleans? I really like how theirs is so dark. Their gumbo is so dark. And people say, oh yeah, you just make a dark roux. Well, I've tried to make a dark roux. I've used the dark roux jar, and it doesn't make it any darker or richer until I read that you can put a can of basically like tomato sauce or tomato puree or whatever in it, and it did give it a deeper flavor. But no, I don't have chunks of gumbo. I mean, chunks of tomatoes floating in my gumbo. But at the same time, nobody should listen to me on gumbo.
No, I just think no one should listen to anyone who thinks that there should be tomatoes in their gumbo.
You're like, you don't belong in Louisiana. You don't even go here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a happy birthday.
Yes. Everything good today? I know you say you have a meeting after this.
Yeah, everything, from day to day, as you know. Every single day of my life looks different than yesterday, and it's just like ping, 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 and sometimes I have a plan for things that are going to happen, and then, as often happens, a news article comes out or a report. Like the other day, we had a report come out, and so then it's like, stop, reverse, triage, and then address that. So every day is a new adventure, and I love that. I love that, yeah.
I think working kind of in this movement's like that all the time, because it's always something going on that has to be addressed and talked about in different situations and stuff like that. So it's always so much. But it's very fun, though. So
it is never boring.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Well, speaking about the movement and what we love about
it. Yes. I mean, I guess some of the things that I love about it, so, for example, I want to say more recently I've started to love tabling, which is something actually we're doing earlier today at UL. And
How'd it go?
It went really good. It was, I want to say 20 or 25 people put their answers on the board. So we started off with a different question, and I'm trying to remember what it was. If I look at my phone, I can see the picture. But it was like, what defines a human, or what makes a human? I think what's important for us, to get people to come to the table ultimately, is to give them not just a reason to come, but a question to answer to kind of make them plant that seed, or just yes. So the first question we put was, what defines a human? And so a lot of it was, so some people said biology, our actions, the conscious, personality, morality, beliefs. One guy I talked to for about 20 minutes said the indomitable human spirit, and we got into a whole thing about it, which was cool. But yeah, no, I love the opportunity to just work with people and have those conversations and really kind of open their minds about a topic that to them is very niche, but I think can be, especially the consistent life ethic we talk about all the time, that can be applied to so many different things.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's definitely interesting and very thought-provoking, so it keeps me on my toes. But
So did y'all have any harsh comments or harsh critics or?
Today, no, which is rare. We actually do. So I think it's because of our approach of being more sit back and let you have the opportunity to come and learn from us rather than us jumping in your face kind of thing. Gives people more of like a ease about approaching us about things like that. So that's why when we have the board, we don't say like you have to put a specific answer. We're like, what is your personal answer? And if their answer is, wrong or whatever it is, we're not gonna like scream at you. We're just gonna say, so why do you have a different opinion on this? And then that's kind of how we start those conversations. So most people think a lot of times it has to be difficult, and it really doesn't, which I think is so cool and much more fun than people realize. But
it just makes me so nervous. I'm not usually
yes.
in that kind of situation. Like usually I know whatever I'm going into. I know who my audience is. I know what they're going to say. I know what their questions are, and I can be prepared for the question in that moment. And that's not to say there's not surprises. There are always surprises, but like usually I have the context of what we'll be discussing. So it's just so unpredictable.
Yes, and the questions are yes.
Come and say. And
Oh
how
yeah,
they'll
you never
approach
know.
you.
Yes.
But y'all are really good about that. Y'all are very good about approaching people compassionately and with a genuine desire to just talk to people. And,
yeah, that's really all it is, and it's enjoyable though, and definitely opening their eyes on different things. One thing, the main topic, I talked to the guy about the indomitable human spirit conversation, because I think our question was a little vague at the beginning, so we kind of switched it a little bit later on. But we were talking about it, and he was like, if I'm being honest, to me, human dignity is this gray area. And he's like, that's just what I believe. He's like, so when it comes to things like abortion, why wouldn't that be the case? And so I kind of just broke it down to him, did the whole thing we do all the time educationally, but comparing it to other human rights and justices within history. And I started off with the Holocaust, and I'm like, okay, we have to understand that by your logic, the Holocaust could be okay based on people's personal perceptions. And so we know that it's not okay because it devalues the human person and makes them subhuman or less than. And so therefore, that's why we have to get back to the question that was on the board of like, what is a human being? And so the plain and simple way I normally explain it is that if this is a human being and it has the same value as us, then a lot of these other things are just not okay.
So therefore it's black and white and not gray. So
I'm always surprised by, there's a lot of hesitance among people, both in our movement and in our opposition, to compare abortion to the Holocaust and to slavery. People get really mad when we do that, but I will go down with the ship defending that, because it is, as we talk about all the time, and you talk about with the students, and that's what really got me into this world, was making that connection. And it comes down to the same fundamental problem, is that if we can make up in our own mind what makes someone valuable, and that value is subjective, then we can justify devaluing anybody for any reason. And
you have to tell them the story about just how you got into it, and I think yours is just so interesting.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy because, and I've told you this before, that I would definitely not say that my path to this place was linear. It's kind of, very meandering. And I think in general, probably my entire life I've had probably a pro-life ethic, but there were times in my life where I did kind of fall into that trap, where I felt like, I bought the lie, like, the government shouldn't force people to do things that they don't want to do, and the government shouldn't tell people what to do and stuff like that. Now I have a whole different perspective of that, not just in this movement, but in general, like the fact that we live in an ordered society, and that's a fundamental part of it, is that yeah, we trade some autonomy for the ordered society. But yeah, to what you were saying is the thing that really just set me on fire was that class that I had in law school with a wonderful professor who had lived as a black man, a young black man, through civil rights. He lived through segregation and then desegregation, and really knew what it was to be threatened, for his physical safety and well-being to be threatened because of the justification of devaluing someone because of the color of their skin. So anyway, he taught this class, and it was the race relations class, and we studied slavery throughout history, but with a main focus on slavery in the Americas, and in the past 300 years or so, rather than all throughout history. And we had to do a research thesis, and as we were going through the class talking about the ways that people at that time, the time of American slavery and European slavery, the ways that they justified it, every single way that they justified slavery has a direct parallel to the ways that society justifies abortion today. And it could be that, that they would argue that, black people are genetically different than white people or other racial people, and so they don't feel pain. They don't feel pain the same way, and so it's okay to treat them this way because it doesn't actually hurt them, or it doesn't hurt them as much as it would hurt a white person, or that they were not of the, there was some scientific evidence at the time that black people were not of the same genus and species as white people. They were kind of like a quasi, kind of like my car. Like I've got a Volvo, and it's gas, and it can also be electric. So it's kind of like a little bit of both, right? And so that was a justification, and there are so many others. There were moral justifications, like, we're doing them a favor because if we don't enslave people and give them a reason to live and to work, they just will not be productive, and they will have no purpose on this earth. And so this is our duty, and we see that all the time with when people say, these children would be born into families that don't want them, and they would grow up poor and unloved, and maybe end up in the foster care system, and life would be horrible for them. We really just need to kill them in the womb. Yeah, it's a favor. Yeah. So that was the big aha moment for me. And in the process, I decided that would be my thesis, and did a ton of research on both the history of abortion, the history of slavery, and Hannah, I was 35 at the time. I think I intuitively kind of knew what abortion was, but I had never seen one. I still have never seen one in person, praise be to God. But I didn't know. I didn't know the different types of abortion and the methods that are used depending on the gestational age and the complication. So that was eye-opening for me. And at that point, it was like, I can't know this and not do something.
It's like once you know it, you have to do something about it almost. And I don't know if that's just personal faith, personal conviction. I don't know. But it's just it's almost like we were saying, like when you had heard about the reality of what abortion is for the first time. It's the same thing that happened to me, but then when I kind of went on that rabbit hole of let me Google this, and I would always tell kids, I'm like, please, I do not recommend you just Googling pro-life versus pro-choice and then finding all these weird videos and stuff. But actually seeing how an abortion happens and understanding how that happens, I'm like, oh my gosh. And the reality, unfortunately, is that majority of people that we interact with just don't know. Yeah. And even in the same way, and like I said all that time, growing up, I grew up always making sure my parents were very intentional about reading Black history books and understanding what slavery actually looked like and what was the experiences that my ancestors were going through in that time, and the strength and the perseverance that they had, which I think was something I'm in shock of all the time. But what is crazy is like, it kind of goes in the same way with slavery. A lot of times when people will be like, oh, it wasn't that bad, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, do you actually understand what slavery was? Do you actually understand how Black people were perceived? And do you understand like babies being thrown into the water as alligator bait, or the skin of Black people being used as leather? Like, do you understand the concept of being seen as genuinely subhuman, or almost, I saw a video of it the other day, but described basically as just like high functioning pets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you understand that? And when you see that, it's like you can't unsee that. And so it's just
I think it's so hard for us to without, none of us were there during the Holocaust. We weren't there during the times of racial slavery in the United States. So all we can go on is the descriptions and the pictures that we do have, and they are horrific, you know. And kind of like with seeing an abortion too, it's like, kind of knowing, oh yeah, I bet an abortion's bad. I bet it's really sad. I bet it's a bad thing. But then to see it, then to see how it happens, you can't unsee it. So I do think that a lot of us have a hard time really connecting with what that's like. But, like I tell people all the time, if we can justify that level of horrific behavior by devaluing and changing the goalposts, changing the definition of what it means to be a human to suit our own needs, then that can happen to any of us right now,
Yeah. It really can be.
Yeah, we don't have to look at history books and pictures to have to understand it. Like, that could be what is used today to capture us, So I do always think of this short story that I read in high school, and the only thing I remember about it is the title and then like a lady sitting on a dusty old front porch. But I think about the title, which was "The Life You Saved May Be Your Own." And if nothing else, we must stand for the value and dignity of all human life, because the life we saved may very well be our own.
Yeah,
So.
Do you feel like for you in this space, do you have moments where it gets hard to be able to
Oh, yeah.
go forward? I know it's not the most popular topic.
No, and I'm a
sure.
people pleaser.
Yeah.
I'm a
Me too.
people
Tell me
pleaser,
about it.
and I'm constantly the one with my husband, okay, when we go to a dinner or a party or whatever, I'm like, okay, don't forget, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about what's going on Fox News or wherever, don't talk about, these things are off limits, because I don't want conflict. I don't want confrontation and conflict, and I want people to like me. And maybe that's a toxic trait, I don't know, but that does make it very hard, because there are moments where you have to decide, this is maybe not the coolest position to have, but what's the alternative? Betraying what you know to be true for a temporary convenience of being liked,
No, I totally agree, and I think especially being a young person in the movement currently, it's just, which you are so young. You're 20. You're 1 year older than me. You're 23. So I'm looking up to you as a 23-year-old woman. But it's definitely harder to be in that space, because I think the representation of what it means to be pro-life within the culture is not positive fully as of now. And I don't necessarily think that's because we don't do things. Because it's always the pro-life people never do enough. They never put their money where their mouth is. They never, what are these pregnancy centers? They don't actually do anything. They just tell people they don't want to have abortions. And so what I love about our work, even when it's hard, is that it's kind of like I get to have these gotcha moments all the time of, so what do you actually do? And then I break it down of and it's not about me personally, but just what is our organization, for example. What do we do? And who do we partner with, and based on what we stand with, all these things, right? And so it's just a gotcha all the time of y'all actually do care about people, and you actually do. And I'm like, I promise majority of us out there are like that. But unfortunately,
like the gotcha
I love it. It's just like it's the moments where I have people go, oh my gosh, I knew you were involved with the pregnancy center, and I know you sometimes go feed the homeless, and I know you're so involved and you want to help out in the community. So I'm so surprised that you're pro-life. And I'm like, my pro-life belief, and of course my faith, but my pro-life beliefs in consistent life ethic conviction calls me to do all of these other things. Yeah. So that's why I'm so involved in the community, not vice versa. Right. So it's just, I think that for me is kind of the quote unquote hard parts, at least of right now, is just the breaking down the barriers of, I know someone sees me on Instagram in a picture that's like pro-life Cajuns. I'm like, what are they thinking about me? But I guess in the back of my mind, I care more about, and I hate to always put faith into everything, but of course that's important, but I think I care more about what my Savior thinks of me than what this random person on Instagram thinks of me.
And God says, I gave you this opportunity, I gave you this path,
you did nothing
and you hid from it because you were scared of somebody being mad at you. Yeah.
100%. And it's interesting, especially with the being a person of faith and being within the movement, and we can do all of this without ever saying his name and ever bringing that up. But I think it's such a beautiful part of the compassion of being the hands and feet of Jesus, which also in the same way, Christians also kind of have that same perception that is not always positive. And so we're always called to try to change that perception as well. So it's like, it's so many different things that can be hard about it, but making sure we're portraying the right picture in everything that we do, which can be hard all the time when you know, not to say that people are always watching, but you just want to be, you know what I mean? The best representation possible for the labels in which we put on ourselves. So that's kind of.
Okay, so I want to ask you this. I know that Louisiana Right to Life is, of course, it's a secular organization. It's not Catholic, it's not Christian. A lot of us happen to be Catholic or Christian, but that's not the mission of the organization. So I'm just putting that out there. And we are on this podcast, but what I'm sure, because I know you're very faithful, the story of Esther. I think, and I know that you are a much better student of the Bible than I probably am. But what I recall from the story of Esther is that she was in a position of somewhat power, not necessarily power, but like in an influential position, and then was able to use that position to save her people. And I don't want to misquote it, but what I always recall from Esther is the line, perhaps you were born for such a time as this. And it gives me so much comfort and strength, I think. Like, yeah, we have been given these massive gifts. The first one, the gift of life. And, you know, of course, not everything's always easy. In fact, a lot of times things are very hard. And we haven't even talked about your background or my background and in the ways that it's often very hard. But we have been placed in this movement at this time for such a time as this. And that is so motivating to me. And then, of course, the part of it, perhaps you were born for such a time as this, and like tying in with our movement. Oh my gracious. Yeah, so it kind of gives me chills.
I love, and we were talking about that when we were talking about the merchandise the other day, but the live action merchandise, that it is good that you exist. And it's like, for me, it's not always about the stories that people are like, oh my gosh, someone like Ben Carson, his mom was told to abort him and he ended up being a world-renowned neurosurgeon. I'm like, that's amazing, and those stories are great, but it's just good that you exist. It's not just about being like the person on the platform who stands on the stage and has done all these things. It's just good that you're in this world with the purpose and a plan, no matter how that's perceived by everybody else. And so I just think that although this can be hard a lot of times, I love that we're on the side of life instead of the side of death, of course, but that we hopefully can continue to remind people that it's good that they even just exist, even if times are hard, even if, you know, you're going through stuff and just struggles and all the things that happens for all of us, for sure. But it's a beautiful movement. So I just love our jobs way too much.
But it really is. Yeah.
Yes.
It is such a blessing to be able to work on something that you're so passionate about.
Yes. I have to like pinch myself all the time because I'm like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love my job. And I can sit here and I can say, if I spent my life doing this, I would feel like I've done the work that I was called to do. And that's such
cool
a
is
weird,
it that
like,
there's a career
to do that, yeah.
you know, it's like yeah, I like to garden, and maybe I could, you know, have a career as gardening, in gardening. But anyway, you know, but that's something I enjoy doing. That's something that brings me a lot of peace and motivation. But this is a bad example because I'm sure there are people who are professional landscapers and gardeners who do very, very well. But me and my skill level, I'm probably not going to do very well as a gardener.
Good. I've seen it.
No, you've seen my yard. You've seen all the weeds. And I don't like to do it when it's hot, and so that's the problem. So how cool is it that we can take our passion and make a career out of it? Although I know that both of us would do it as volunteers, because that's how we started.
Well, I love that. It's the, oh my gosh, how did you get into it? And like, how can I do something similar? I'm like, do you have a few years to just give you, to do free labor in free time? And it was so worth it to gain not just the relationships, but the understanding in the background and the stories, and like really seeing all of that, and just being involved in the events, and just really seeing how you can change people's lives through just different events and all that kind of stuff. You always wonder, like, kind of, I guess, what goes behind the scenes. Like, when I go to a festival or something now, I guess since we've done things like Festival de la Vie, I go, man, where's the people planning this? Because they must be, like, real happy or real, maybe stressed out, but it looks nice. Or, like, we've been through this. Well, I guess that kind of gives us the perfect segue to talk about our upcoming events, though.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should let them know. So we have our, Life Chain going on at Pius first?
Yeah. So Life Chain on October 5th at St. Pius from 4 until 5 p.m. So it'll be, you remember last year we did it, it was so hot. And you know me, I don't like to be hot. But it'll be a little bit later in the day. And, you know, for those who are Mass goers, that is certainly not a prerequisite, but there's a 5 o'clock Mass at St. Pius right after. So, you know, you can come. Show people in a loving way that, you know, we are pro-life, we can honk, and keep Louisiana pro-life and all of that, and then go on to Mass if that's something that you do, or go to dinner or whatever, go home. But St. Pius, October 5th from 4 to 5 p.m.
Okay, good. I'm excited. And then we also have our pro-life night coming up, which location is TBD. Yeah. But
which, by the way, speaking of now we know the behind the scenes, and you realize now, like, just the effort of securing a place for any type of event is so monumental.
It is, and it takes much more steps than people think. Like, it's more of a you can just wake up and decide to do this. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. It takes multiple people, different time, different contexts, different relationships. And
I don't do well with the calendar. Everything kind of lives up here. I'll know that on that Tuesday, I need to be at the event, and probably sometime in that morning, I'll be like, okay, what time do I need to get there? Terrible way to live. Terrible. Okay. Would not recommend. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
I add stuff to my calendar, and then that Monday, I go through and I'm like, okay, here's what I need to do. And then I still forget. And then the night before every night, I'm like, wait, I have like 4 events tomorrow. Okay, wait, I need to actually like mentally prepare.
You're so normal.
So I don't know.
You're a normal person. That's what normal people do.
She's like, no, she does not.
Although my friend, you know, my friend Angel, she always says, gosh, Erica, and this is a terrible thing to say, but she's like, gosh, Erica, if you ever committed a crime, they would have no idea where you've been. Whereas if I committed a crime, they would know exactly where I was and what I thought about while I was there, and all of this other information, because it's right here on my phone. It would be like, can't crack it.
Oh my goodness. But yes, so I'm so excited for our upcoming events, especially because it's Respect Life Month, so you know that's like getting to be our busiest month, besides January, of course. Which
I feel like all the months are really actually pretty busy, but October is a significant month in our movement.
Yes, for
Respect
sure.
Life Month. And then, of course, January is the anniversary of Roe versus Wade, which now, you know, we should move it to June because we can celebrate and I do feel like we are starting to have events in June for that purpose. But the nice thing about January is it's not.
Yep. See, I actually like the heat, so I'm not complaining too much, but that's just me. I would stay in the South forever and enjoy the heat, and I'd be totally fine.
I
But
just love the greenery, the food, the people. I do not like to be hot. I say it's my eyes. It's my eyes. The sun. I don't handle the heat as
and
well.
I feel like every time we end up talking, especially in the parking lot, you're the one with the sun like in your eye, and I'm the one with my back.
And I'm
You have to stop me talking to you whenever that's happening.
I do try
sure.
when I'm talking to someone and I see that the sun is in their eyes, I will try to move
flip.
myself so that the sun's not in their eyes because it's
Very
bothers me
sacrificial.
so much. Is that what it is?
Yes, we'll do it for anyone.
But I just know, like, it's so bothersome. But anyway.
I got you. Well, yeah, I mean, it was great talking to you. I know you've got meetings coming up and all these busy things. So many projects, so much prepping. But I'm so excited to see you again. Do this again. Yes. Bye, guys.